Everyone wants to learn English, and so do I. When I decided to learn English, my goal was to watch movies in their original language or easily travel to different countries and communicate with people there. I thought learning English would be very easy. But in reality, I found out that learning a language is more than just watching movies and reading books. At first, it seemed like I wasn't making any progress in English. Even though I tried many different books and learning apps, I still felt like something was missing. Maybe the main reason was that I thought I should learn everything quickly and not make any mistake. That's why every time I made a mistake, I felt like I was going backward. My language teacher always said that we need to practice, but I didn't understand the importance of this. To me, everything had to be quick and without mistake. But one day, after trying for a long time, I realized that nothing comes without practice and effort. No one gets anywhere in life without trying. Even if we forget or can't learn everything, the important thing is to keep trying every day. My language teacher reminded me of this again, but this time I understood. The first step was not to be afraid of making mistakes. Many of us are afraid to make mistakes when learning a language. But then I realized that making mistakes is part of the learning process. No one can learn a language without mistakes. It takes time, and we need to put ourselves in situations where we make mistakes in order to grow. One of the effective techniques I used was the shadowing technique. This technique involves listening to an audio file or a movie in English and repeating it aloud at the same time. At first, I just listened and tried to understand what the speaker was saying. After a while, I started repeating sentences out loud, even if I couldn't match the speed or accent perfectly. This exercise helped me improve my pronunciation and also gave me more confidence in speaking. I also noticed that when I spoke at the same time, my mind reacted more quickly to grammar structures and vocabulary. Along the way, daily practice became very important. I started listening to English music and watching movies with English subtitles. This not only improved my listening skills, but also helped me think more in English. Every day that I watched English movies and TV shows, my mind became more accustomed to English, and I started creating English sentences in my mind without thinking. After a while, I decided to focus on listening to English. One method that really helped me was listening to podcasts and English music. At first, I just listened, but after some time, I started writing down the sentences I heard and liked, then repeated them aloud. This helped improve my pronunciation and got my ears used to the sounds and structures of English. Another technique that helped me was using flashcards. I made flashcards and set aside a specific time every day to review them. One important thing about using flashcards is that you should review the words randomly and gradually set aside the ones you have learned. This method helped me expand my vocabulary effectively. One of the best pieces of advice my teacher gave me was to think in English. At first, it was really hard, but with practice it got easier. For example, when I went shopping, I tried to review conversations in English in my mind. Or when I saw something, I would say its name in English in my mind. This exercise helped me gradually make English sentences without translating. But the most important thing I learned was that practice shouldn't be hard and boring. Practice should be enjoyable. If we see language learning as a task we want to avoid, we will never progress. We should enjoy it and make learning a fun part of our daily life. For me, this joy came from learning new words, watching new movies, and sometimes reading English books. Another effective method was reading English storybooks. I started with simple and short books. Every time I saw a new word, I wrote it down and looked up its meaning. Reading stories not only taught me new words but also helped me learn grammar naturally, without needing to memorize grammar rules. One of the most important changes in my learning process was that I started practicing conversation with my friend. We decided to have some of our daily conversations in English. Even when we made mistakes, we didn't feel embarrassed to correct each other. This gave me more confidence and made me speak more easily over time. But perhaps the most interesting experience for me on this journey was overcoming my shyness. I was always afraid to talk to foreigners. This fear mainly came from worrying that I would make a mistake and make them laugh. But one day, I decided to overcome this fear and challenge myself. So, I went to the airport. I knew there were many foreign tourists there, and it was a good opportunity to talk to them. The first time I went to the airport, my heart was racing. I waited for a long time until a tourist came close to me. Finally, I saw a foreign lady who seemed a bit confused. I went up to her and smiled, saying, "Can I help you?" She looked at me in surprise and said, "Yes, I'm looking for a taxi." I got a little nervous but tried to explain the way. Even though my sentence wasn't perfect, she understood and thanked me. That day I realized that even if I make a mistake, nothing bad will happen. The tourist didn't know me, and if I made a mistake, nothing would be taken away from me. That's why I decided to keep doing this. Every time I went to the airport, I spoke to different tourists. Sometimes I even approached them and started a conversation, even if they didn't have any questions. One time, while talking to a foreign passenger, she asked me if I lived in the city and if I knew any tourist attractions. This question led to a longer conversation, and I even suggested some places for her to visit. This experience gave me more confidence, and I realized I could have longer conversations too. Over time, this practice completely eliminated my fear of talking to foreigners. I even shared this experience with my students and recommended they take advantage of similar situations to build their confidence. One of my students, who was very shy, was really afraid of speaking in English. She was always worried that others would laugh at her mistakes. I shared my airport story with her and suggested she try something similar. I explained that no one learns without making mistakes. So I asked her to speak out loud in class, even if she made mistakes. At first, it was very hard for her, but gradually she gained more confidence. One day, when I saw her confidently tell a short story in class without feeling shy, I was very happy. I had another student who was always worried about grammar. He thought that if his grammar was wrong, people wouldn't understand him. I told him that in daily conversations, perfect grammar isn't as important as communication. I suggested that he focus on speaking fluently. Over time, he was able to speak without stopping to think about grammar. One of my other students, who loved music, decided to learn by listening to English songs. He wrote down the lyrics and tried to find their meanings. Then he would read them out loud. This method not only improved his pronunciation but also expanded his vocabulary. One day, he proudly sang a song he had learned in class for everyone. Learning a language shouldn't be boring. My friends and I designed different challenges for ourselves. For example, one day we decided to only speak in English, even if we couldn't complete a sentence. Or each of us had to write a short piece in English every week and read it out loud to the others. These challenges made language learning more fun and exciting for us. Perhaps the most important thing that helped me reach this stage was starting to practice with my friends. Whenever I wanted to speak, I put myself into daily conversations with my friends in English. Even when my sentences were wrong, I didn't feel embarrassed to say them because I knew that only regular practice would help me improve. In this process, I also had interesting experiences with my students. One of my students always thought he needed to speak quickly to sound good in English. But I explained to him that this was a mistake. It's more important to speak clearly and at a comfortable pace. At first, it was hard for him to speak slowly, but over time, he understood that the most important thing is to say every word and sentence correctly. I also had a student who was very afraid of making mistakes. I told him that mistakes are a big part of learning a language. No one reaches a high level in a language without making mistakes. I advised him to learn from his mistakes and see them as steps on the learning path. Gradually, he started ignoring his mistakes and focusing more on learning. The most important lesson is that learning English never happens overnight. We must be patient and gradually progress over time. Every day we practice, we add to our knowledge. These small additions will have a big impact over time. You must know that every day you spend on this path brings you closer to your goal. Learning English has opened up many doors for me. It's not just about being able to watch movies in their original language or being able to travel and talk to people in other countries, but it's also about expanding your worldview. When you speak English, you can connect with people from all over the world, and the world suddenly feels smaller and more accessible. You gain access to vast amounts of knowledge, books, research, and information that were once inaccessible or only available in certain languages. English is the language of international business, science, technology, and culture. By learning it, you can understand cutting-edge developments and stay informed about global events. Moreover, speaking English has improved my personal life in so many ways. It's given me more confidence, not just in language skills, but in myself as a person. Being able to communicate with people from different cultures has broadened my horizons. I've made friends from places I never imagined, and I've had the chance to experience cultures and ideas from all corners of the world. English is also the language of opportunity. Whether it's in your career, education, or personal growth, knowing English can give you the edge you need to succeed. Many jobs, especially in multinational companies, require a good understanding of English, and those who speak it are often given priority. What excites me most about learning English is the continuous journey of growth. Even as a teacher now, I still find new things to learn and new ways to improve my skills. The learning process never truly ends. And that's the beauty of it. Each word, each phrase, each conversation brings me closer to being more fluent and capable. It's not just about the language. It's about the mindset it creates, one that is curious, persistent, and open to the world. Every time I overcome a challenge or learn a new concept, I feel like I'm gaining something valuable that makes my life richer and more fulfilling. When you learn English, you're not just improving your ability to speak, you're improving your ability to think, to analyze, and to connect with people. The skills you develop, whether it's problem solving, creative thinking, or communication, will help you in every area of life. This is not just a language. It's a tool that enhances your intellectual growth and gives you a voice on the global stage. As I reflect on how far I've come, I realize that learning English has made me more open to new ideas, more understanding of different perspectives, and more confident in sharing my own thoughts. If you're wondering whether it's worth the effort, let me tell you that it absolutely is. Every small step you take toward fluency brings you closer to a world of endless possibilities. Whether you want to improve your career, explore new cultures, or simply understand the world better, English will take you there. You don't have to be perfect to start. You just have to begin and take it one step at a time. You'll make mistakes, and that's okay. Remember, the more you practice, the better you will become. Every word you learn and every sentence you speak brings you closer to your goals. So keep going. You're not just learning a language, you're expanding your mind and transforming your life. Keep pushing yourself, and one day you'll look back and be amazed at how much you've achieved. I promise you, learning English is not just a way to communicate, it's a way to connect with the world, to open doors, and to lead a more fulfilling life. And if I can do it, so can you.